Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, dear listeners. Today's story is about Khalid bin Waleed radiallahu anhu and his connection with Al-Aqsa. Khalid radiallahu anhu was known as Sayf Allah, the unsheathed sword of Allah, because he was one of the best commanders for the Muslims. He broke 9 swords in the Battle of Mu'tah. He crushed the Persians. He crushed the Romans. He was undefeated, which means he never lost a battle. He was a great military strategist, which means he could think of some really cool strategies or ideas on how to win the battle. Khalid radiallahu anhu was the son of Al-Waleed, who was from the tribe Bani Makhzum. Al-Waleed was a very rich trader and Khalid was his youngest son. There were no schools like what we have today, so he learned from what he saw around him. As a child, Khalid would travel with his father when he would take his caravan of camels to different cities to sell his merchandise. When he was traveling, he heard many stories. He grew up knowing nothing else but how to be a battle strategist. His main strategies were: he would allow the enemy begin the battle, which is known as the offensive. He would make the enemy feel that they won before he made his move. And he would hide a group of fighters and make the enemy believe there were less people. It's like a cat who knows they can easily grab the small mouse, but they want to play with it for a while before the attack. In the Battle of Uhud, before Khalid became Muslim, he made a decoy to fool the Muslims, and that's how the Muslims lost the battle. In the Battle of Uhud, the Prophet ﷺ told the Muslim archers to stand on the mountain and watch Khalid's battalion. But when they saw Khalid's group running away, or riding away, they thought they were leaving with the rest of Quraysh. But this was one of Khalid's plans. He only pretended to leave. He took his battalion around Mount Uhud and attacked the Muslims from behind, and the battle was lost that day for the Muslims. When he became Muslim, he wanted to give the Prophet ﷺ his sword to show his obedience to Islam. Although he was the bitterest sword against Islam, he became Allah's sword for Islam. After the Prophet ﷺ passed away, the Sahaba got busy in trying to free Al-Aqsa from the Romans. Khalid bin Waleed radiallahu anhu was a commander of the army. One of the battles which led to freeing Al-Aqsa was known as the Battle of Yarmouk. When Caliph Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu died, Umar bin Al Khattab became Caliph. He sent a messenger to Khalid and told him he couldn't command the army anymore. He put Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah radiallahu anhu in charge. Umar bin Al Khattab was worried that everyone will think that Khalid was the one that gave the Muslims victory, as the victory was always from Allah. Khalid radiallahu anhu was sad, but he understood this and he accepted, alhamdulillah. The Roman Emperor Heraclius was upset. His lands were being taken over by the Muslim liberators. He wanted to feel special again. So he began preparing for a battle that he thought he would win, and then he could take the lands that he had lost. He gathered an army of 200,000 men led by a man named Mahan. As Khalid radiallahu anhu had already set up before him on the battlefield, Mahan set his men up over 12 miles from the Yarmouk River in the south to the hill of Jabiyah in the north. On his right was the army of Gregory, and on his left was the army of Qanatir. The centre was Derjan and the Armenian army of Mahan. One of the tactics the Byzantines used was to chain 30,000 foot soldiers in groups of 10, so they wouldn't be tempted to escape. The Muslim army was around 40,000 men only, of which 10,000 were cavalry, horsemen, and the rest were infantry, foot soldiers. So that's 30,000 men. Khalid organized the army. He put 4,000 horses with himself, which would be the mobile guard. The rest of the cavalry of 2,000 horses each he put under Qais bin Hubayra, Masayra bin Masruq, and Amir bin Tufail. Khalid organized 36 infantry regiments of 800 to 900 men. Each 4 corps had 9 infantry regiments. In each regiment he put men from one tribe, or who had origins to the tribe. The brave and courageous leader from amongst the tribe was appointed over them. Historians say that Khalid bin Waleed was the first to organize the armies in this way, and it was considered a breakthrough in Islamic military. On the right columns was Umar bin Al-As near the Jabiyah Road, and on the left columns was Yazid bin Abi Sufyan near the Yarmouk River, a mile away from where the ravine began. Each had a cavalry under their command. At the centre left was Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah, and with him Al-Muhajirun and Al-Ansar, assisted by Sharhabil ibn Hasna in the right centre. Khalid and the mobile guard stood behind the centre and would generally watch the battlefield and help where was needed. The Muslims were 11 miles across. They stood 1 mile in front of the Romans. The ravine was behind the Romans, and so the stage was set for the battle. In the talks before the battle, Mahin said, "We know that it is hardship and hunger that has brought you out of your lands. We will give each of your men 10 dinars, clothing and food, if you return to your lands, and next year we will send you a similar amount." Khalid radhiyallahu replied, "Actually, what brought us out of our lands is that we are people who drink blood, and it has reached us that there is no blood tastier than the Roman blood." He was trying to put fear in the heart of the enemy. Preparation for battle. Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah, radhiyallahu, who was now the general over the whole army, appointed Khalid radhiyallahu to command the army, as it was a huge army they were facing now. Abu Ubaidah radhiyallahu went to the camps and spoke to the women. He said to them, "Take tent poles in your hands and gather heaps of stones. If we win, alhamdulillah, all is well. But if you see a Muslim running away from the battle, strike him in the face with a tent pole, pelt him with stones, hold his children up before him, and tell him to fight for his wife and children and for Islam." So the women got ready. As Khalid's speech was given to each rank, a young man said, "How huge the army of the Romans, and how few we are!" Khalid radhiyallahu anhu replied, "How few are the Romans, and how numerous we are. An army's strength lies not in numbers of men, but in Allah's help, and its weakness lies in being forsaken by Allah." The Muslims started reciting the ayah in Surah Baqarah, verse 249. But those believers who were certain they would meet Allah reasoned, "How many times has a small force vanquished a mighty army by the will of Allah? And Allah is always with the steadfast. Allahu ma'as sabirin." Monday, 12th of August 636 AD, or the 5th of Rajab 15 AH, the Muslims were ready to fight. Khalid bin Waleed likes to wear the enemy out, so he doesn't begin the battle. He doesn't attack first. When you attack someone, it is called an offense. But when someone attacks you and you fight back, it is called a defense. So Khalid radhiyallahu anhu would always start with defense. This way, he understands the strength of the enemy. The Romans crawled from their place towards the Muslims. 30,000 men entered the field sounding like thunder. Each 10 were chained so they wouldn't be tempted to run away. The bishops came with them with crosses raised high. When Khalid radhiyallahu anhu saw their arrival, he made his plan to make the Muslims stand firm in the face of his attack. Until the Roman ranks break and crack, then he begins a counterattack. He prepared the front lines with spearmen, and behind them were the archers. Fajr time. Both armies are less than a mile away from each other. The battle begins with a duel. A champion is selected from each side to do a one-on-one. A Byzantine general called George became Muslim that day. He came to duel with Khalid bin Waleed but did not want to fight him. He spoke in Arabic and he asks, "Tell me the truth, Khalid, for the free do not lie and the noble do not deceive. Is it true that Allah sent a sword to your Prophet from heaven and that he gave it to you?" Khalid said no. So George asked, "How did you get the name of Saifullah?" He explained he got the name Saifullah from the Battle of Mu'tah, where he fought and he broke 9 swords. George became Muslim that day and he was martyred, subhanallah. Every champion the Byzantines sent lost the duel. The Byzantines ordered an attack with only a third of its men to test the Muslim strength. At Maghrib time, everyone went back to their camps. Day 2, 16th of August, 636. Highlights. At a war meeting, Byzantines decide to attack before Fajr to surprise the Muslims. Mahan wants to push Muslims into the center of the battlefield. During the night, Allah guided Khalid to put up a strong outpost, and the Muslims were warned of the attack. Byzantines did not push hard at the center, they just kept the Muslims busy. Qanatir attacked Amar's infantry on the right and pushed them back towards the Muslim camp. Khalid ordered the cavalry of the right wing to attack the north side of the Byzantine left, whilst he, with his mobile guard, attacked the south side of the Byzantine left, and the Muslim right side infantry attacked from the front. Byzantine left wing goes back. Amr and his men returned to position. Yazid's infantry on the left was also pushed back to the Muslim camp. Yazid told the cavalry to attack, but they were overrun. Retreating Muslims were met by Arab women in the camps, led by Hind and tent poles. The men returned to the battlefield. After stabilizing the right, Khalid orders the mobile guard to help the left. Khalid attaches a regiment under Dirar bin al-Azwar. He orders him to attack the front of Dirjan's army, which is in the left center. The rest of the cavalry attack Gregory. Dirjan is killed. Byzantine return to the original position at sunset. The Byzantine are really upset that Dirjan is dead. Day 3, 17th of August, 636 AD. Mahan wondered where he went wrong the day before. So Mahan decides to attack the right, which is the right flank, and the right center, as there's more room to move around. He orders Qanatir to separate the right so they could fight them separately. This is the divide and conquer rule. The Muslim right wing fall back to their camps. The women chant their songs of ridicule and abuse. The women come out and fight alongside their men. Khawla, who is Dirar's sister, also fights. We will talk about the brother and sister team in the next video, inshallah. The Muslims reorganize and hold their guard. Khalid notices the Byzantine are concentrating on the right side, so he launches an attack with his mobile guard. Khalid's technique wins the day for the Muslims, and the Byzantines are pushed back to the original positions. Day 4, 18th of August, 636. Mahan orders the attack on the Muslim right again. Qanatir leads two armies of Slavs against the Muslim right wing and right center. The Muslim right wing and right center again fall back. Khalid enters with the mobile guard. He orders Abu Ubaidah and Yazid in the left center and the left wings to attack the Byzantine armies at the front. The attack slows the Byzantine and prevents them from moving forward. Khalid divides his mobile guard into two and attacks the flanks of the Byzantine left center, and the infantry of the Muslim right center attacks from the front. The Byzantines fall back. Day 5, 19th of August, 636. Mahan suffers many casualties but still hasn't broken through the Muslim lines. Mahan sends a messenger to the Muslim camp asking for a truce for the next few days so that he could negotiate. Khalid says no, as he was waiting for this moment. It was a time for the offensive. He reorganizes his troops. The Muslim cavalry are grouped together into one powerful force, 8,000 cavalry. Khalid plans to trap the Byzantine troops, cutting off their routes of escape. The northern route was to be blocked by Muslim cavalry. There are 3 gorges in the battlefield with their steep ravines: Wadi Urqad at the west, Wadi al-Yarmouk in south, and Wadi al-Allah in east. There was only one passage across the 200 meters deep ravines of Wadi Urqad in the west, known as Ain al-Dakar. Dirar goes missing in the night. We'll find out very soon what happened to him. Day 6, 20th of August. Khalid plans to drive the Byzantine cavalry off the battlefield, leaving only the infantry. He plans to push the left flank of the Byzantine army and drive them towards the ravine in the west. Khalid orders an attack on the Byzantine front. He gallops his cavalry around the left wing of the Byzantines. Part of his cavalry attacks the Byzantine left wing cavalry, while the rest of it attacks the rear of the Byzantine left wing infantry. The Muslim right wing presses from the front. The Byzantine left wing fell back to the Byzantine left centre. The remaining Muslim cavalry then attacked the Byzantine left-wing cavalry and pushed them to the north. The Muslim right-wing infantry now attacked the Byzantine left centre on the left, while the Muslim right centre attacked from the front. Muslims remain steadfast. When the line moves, they reunite and return to fight. The Romans are exhausted and their ranks are broken up. The Roman cavalry are in the camp to the rear. Khalid launches his counterattack between the Roman infantry and their cavalry. They were surprised by this attack. The Roman cavalry fled to the desert, leaving the battlefield. The Muslims saw the Roman horses fleeing. They cleared the way for them and let them leave the battlefield. Mahin noticed the huge cavalry of the Muslims and ordered his cavalry to group together, but it's too late. Khalid drives his cavalry to attack the Byzantine cavalry. He attacks from the front whilst they are still trying to get into place. The Byzantine cavalry now flee to the north, leaving the infantry on its own. With the Byzantine cavalry completely gone, Khalid turns to the Byzantine left centre and he attacks it. When this happens, the Byzantine left retreat and with it a general retreat starts. Khalid takes his cavalry north to block the route of escape. The Byzantines flee towards Wadi Raqad, hoping to cross at Ain al-Dakar. But guess who was there? Dirar radiallahu anhu and his 500 cavalry. Khalid radiallahu anhu sent Dirar radiallahu anhu the night before to secure the crossing. Khalid had this plan from the beginning when he chose the location of the camps. The Byzantines are now surrounded from all sides. The Romans in their panic began falling into the abyss as it was getting dark and the fog filled the air. They did not notice the huge drop to the river below. When the next morning came, the Muslims looked and did not find anyone from the Romans in the valley. They thought that the Romans had prepared an ambush, so they sent horses to find out what was happening. The shepherds informed them that they had fallen into the abyss during their retreat, and those who remained of them left the place. The Battle of Yarmouk was one of the greatest Islamic battles, and it had such a huge impact. The Roman army, which was the strongest army in the world at the time, suffered a huge defeat and lost many of its best soldiers. After this battle, Heraclius left Sham. Upon leaving Sham, broken-hearted, he looked back and he said, "Peace be upon you, Sham. We will not meet again. What a beautiful country. You belong to the enemy now, and no Roman will enter you from now on except in fear." This great victory for the Muslims resulted in them settling in Sham. They completed the liberation of all its cities and called people to Islam and taught them. The Romans were scared of the Muslim army. They could not understand how an army so small in number defeated such a huge Roman army. A clear message was sent to them: never mess with Muslims. This battle put fear into the hearts of the Romans, and this made the giving up of Al-Quds to the Muslims much easier, which we will see in future videos. What an incredible leader was Khalid. Many children have been named after him and his bravery radiallahu anhu. He was a genius, a military strategist, and he never lost a battle in his life. On the deathbed of such an incredible leader, he was disappointed that he was dying in such a way. "I would throw myself in the ranks of the enemies until I was certain that I would not come out alive, and here I am dying on my bed. So may the eyes of the cowards never see sleep." But we must remember that he was the safe of Allah, and the safe of Allah can never be broken. Next time we will share the story of the brother and sister team Dirar and Khawla. So until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.